Welcome to issue number 3 of Headline Heroes, a comedy podcast where we take today's headlines and create a comic book origin story for them. My name is Drew Mick, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts.
I'm Nathan Haynes.
And I'm Tanner Ackerman.
Well, guys, we did it. They say if you get past the first 2 episodes of a podcast, you're basically golden, and we can really start reaping in that sweet, sweet money that's coming.
I've heard that too.
Advertisers knocking at the door.
Boston College definitely did a study on that, and that is 100% accurate. Yeah.
So, like you said, Drew, in this podcast, we're going to go and take some recent headlines that we've collected throughout the week, and we're going to use them as inspiration for origins of heroes, villains, and other comic book type entities. In the past, we've created a hero, Bushido Sobo, and a villain, Omen Shaman. And so this week we decided we wanted to be a little bit more random and fluid about it, where we had once talked about doing a wheel where we would actually specifically say whether it was a sidekick, a hero, a villain, an organization. But after a little bit of discussion, we decided that maybe we wanted to simplify it a little bit. And instead, we're going to do a wheel where we just decide good or evil. Now, that could be a good sidekick, an evil organization, like basically anything that falls under the umbrella of good or evil. We don't want to restrict ourselves too much, but we want to give ourselves a little direction on that.
For sure.
So, Tanner, do you want to start us off and spin that wheel?
All right, yeah, here we go. And looks like we're doing a good guy.
Woo. All right.
Okay, now let's see what article we're going to get here. All right, we got a 4, so that is teen engineers build robot arm to rescue puppy trapped in well.
Okay. And this comes to us from where, Tanner?
Oh, sorry, Huffington Post.
Yes. All right.
Okay, good thing that this was not an evil one, because that would have been hard to do.
An evil puppy.
Okay, that's fair.
I think we could have done it.
Aw. So I just opened this up, and this puppy's real adorable looking.
Oh, cute.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right. So off the bat, here's my first thought when I picked this article.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I need to start, but the thing that hit me when I looked at this is like, I'm kind of imagining that through some terrible series of events, either this robot arm and the puppy became as one, or we get some sort of robo dog out of this scenario.
That is kind of what I was thinking too.
Like, or almost like I don't want to maim the dog in any way, but so maybe like an exoskeleton for this dog. It's a robot arm.
I mean, we don't have to maim it. It could,
How do you get robot parts into a dog without in a well without some undue maiming?
Well, I don't think we're gonna be able to avoid having the dog be hurt in order to do this. I think we're going to have to accept that that's going to happen, but it's going to get saved.
It could be an exoskeleton. I do like that idea.
I mean, that could be where it starts. It's good. They send this arm in, saves the dog. Oh boy, it's great.
And maybe from that point on, the arm is bound to that dog.
Yes, they can't get it off. And so instead of just giving up, they kind of lean into it and they say, I think we could do some great stuff here. And they give this dog an exoskeleton. Because
this dog, I mean, it got trapped in a well. Maybe it kept getting trapped in a well, so they wanted to engineer a solution.
We're expending too many resources getting this fucking dog out of a well. We need to give it its own agency to get out of this well.
Yeah, at that point, it became more fiscally responsible to actually just make an exoskeleton for this dog. We can go with that. So, and it's teen engineers that did this. So does he have a team, of teenagers that are his headquarters?
Yes.
I kind of think so.
That would be tight.
And I like to imagine that whatever they create this exoskeleton, and it's not so much the dog that's in charge of this, it's more of the suit is in charge and the dog is just along for the ride.
See, I kind of like the idea of he's got this suit and the kids are doing their best to influence. They have big dreams of making a superhero dog, but this dog is just going to go off and do its own thing anyway. Okay. It has to balance the desires of the suit with the desires of the dog. And so you get sort of this duality. There's 2 parts to this superhero.
It's all right, so it's going to go rescue someone. But on the way there, it's going to see a nice shiny red fire hydrant.
That is exactly what I pictured. Oh my gosh.
So it's just Robo-Dog, whatever your name is going to be. There's a fire at the orphanage. We need to go save them. And it's running down the street. But what's it doing? Oh my God, it's found a toilet and it's licking out. It's lapping up that water.
Drinking out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But, or it gets to the fire hydrant and in its attempt to sort of get there and pee on it, I guess, which is what dogs do. I guess. It like ends up actually just knocking the fire hydrant over, and water spews everywhere, all over the house that's on fire. Super Dog, you did it again, man.
No, it got knocked over because it just like ran up to it, or was it?
Because it doesn't know its strength.
It doesn't know its strength. This dog doesn't get it.
Okay. All right. Yes, I like this. I like this a lot.
So I kind of like the idea that we built, like, this is almost superhero / superhero organization, because like I don't want to leave these teens out of it. They're an integral part of this
They are
story.
the pit crew for this dog.
I picture them like a headquarters, like, you know, those like giant monitor computer screens and stuff, and they're like, oh, there's a bank robbery happening right now. We got to send whatever they're gonna call the puppy's name to it, and like they're like definitely like in control of like everything, like trying to find, you know, where the bad guys are and sending them out.
All right, so they work for like repairs for him. They're kind of his oracle. Are they like in the basement of one of their like mom's house or something?
That's kind of what I imagined.
Or a tree for it.
Okay. Or a tree for
it. Okay, yeah, sure, why not? I mean, they're teenagers.
Yeah, I don't know.
A basement really is the kind of place that teenagers hang out.
Yeah, I suppose they're not elementary school kids, so yeah, probably a basement makes more sense.
So I kind of imagine the dog like flies, if it flies, maybe it just runs real fast, like into its dog house, but they've already made some sort of like thing where the ground opens up underneath the dog house, and the dog house like slides down in.
I like that. I like that idea.
So we don't need to do it now, but I do think over the course of this discussion, we need to come up with a name for the dog and a name for the group as a whole.
Yes, okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Because I don't think the teens are going to want to get left out of this. They want a name for themselves too. Everybody likes being a part of a team. Come on.
The canine unit. That's a little too on the pupper snout.
A little on the nose, but I feel like we should hold on to that. There might be something in there that we can twist.
Put that on the shelf.
So this dog, trapped in a well, these kids created a robot arm that to save the dog. While during the course of saving the dog, it sort of bonded with it to a point that they couldn't get it off. So they just decided to
all that arm wanted to do was pet that dog. Give him little tummy rubs.
And so now they leaned into it, and they have this superhero dog who has to fight the impulses of being a dog and balance that with actually doing good.
And
is that about accurate?
That's what we got.
Yeah.
So we settled on exoskeleton suit, right?
I think that's the best in my opinion.
Yes, I would agree there. Now, one thing I think we need to talk about is how is this puppy communicating when he is doing good? Like, is it like a robot voice that is controlled by the teens, or is it some weird contraption where like they've hooked his brain up to some sort of speech output and he's talking? I was sort of leaning the second one for a second, but I almost like the idea of the teens desperately want to have a hero that they created, but since the dog is just still a dog doing dog stuff, they're trying to like speak for the dog in a way to like basically justify what it's doing as superheroic. It knocks over a building and it's like, Nazis live there. I did this for good. And then the dog just runs off. It like runs up to like the chief of police and just like, oh, RoboDog, I'm so glad you're here. Here's the situation. And RoboDog, the teens are just like, I'm here to save the day. And like while it's saying that, it's running over and like eating, like sniffing some weird patch of grass while it's doing that. So it's just like, oh, hold on. Crime happening here, I think, at one point. Sniff out crime. There definitely was crime on this grass. Mm-hmm. Now, are we getting a little too close to McGruff the Crime Dog? No. McGruff the Crime Dog was a human who underwent some horrible experiments that left him marked as a dog for life.
He was like the Street Sharks of dogs.
Is that really what that was?
No.
Okay. All right. You questioned my whole like childhood there for just a second.
I mean, he is a terrifying visage, though, right? Like McGruff.
Yes.
Yeah. Imagine.
I wish I could have been a fly on the wall in that meeting where they were like trying to figure out how to stop kids from using drugs, and they were and doing crime, and they're like, what if we just made a giant dog? And furthermore, it just took off.
Let's put him in a trench coat, which is like the only coat I associate with drugs.
Yeah, he looks creepy as hell the more you think about it.
Well, he's undercover. He's doing a sting.
Oh my! This is basically I'm looking at McGruff the Crime Dog for the first time in decades, and it's basically Inspector Gadget with a basset hound head.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
In a different world, in a different podcast, Like, I do like the idea of exploring McGruff the Crime Dog, but from like a gritty noir standpoint, or like a more edgy drug trade standpoint, where he's like going undercover and like chasing down criminals and getting into some real dark shit. Like, that's the kind of McGruff for a new age, a new generation.
Yeah, they need a live action gritty reboot of McGruff. Hollywood's too scared to make it.
So it's like the scene is like it's black and white, and he's in his office, and it's like a some subtle jazz notes in the background, and he's doing a monologue. He's just like, Saturday night, just got back from chasing the mailman, and who would walk in but her? Of course she would come back.
All I wanted was to bite into a good milk bone and drift off to sleep, but of course she had to walk in that door.
Forcing me yet again to take a bite out of crime.
And I wasn't even hungry.
Except for that milk bone.
Even if I'm not hungry, I always got room for a milk bone, know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I really am liking our little segues into obscure pop culture, like Bill Engvall last week, and now it's
Mr. Magoo 2 weeks
ago.
Side note, there are costumes you can buy of McGruff the Crime Dog.
Oh, guys, I gotta cancel my
Hold on. When's Halloween? Shit.
I have to go bankrupt right now.
I ordered 10.
Is that too much? Am I being too aggressive here?
Did I do bad?
Not enough.
Yeah, what should we name this bad boy? Well, we got to name the pup, and we got to name the teen organization.
Yes. I think that we should name the puppy first, because maybe the team name is based off that.
Yeah, good call.
Yes.
Okay, so
what are the elements here? We got robot, we got puppy, we got dog, we got doggo.
Got exoskeleton.
Did we decide what breed the dog is?
Well, if we're going by...
Yeah, what's the article?
Oh, man, I can't tell. He kind of looks... He's 4 months old.
He's like a lab.
Seems to be kind of a... He honestly seems like he's a bit of a mutt.
Okay, so you just want to not...
I mean, honestly, we can do whatever dog breed we want. If there is a pun with Basset Hound, we're going to go for it.
Okay.
Oh, guys, I'm sorry. I have to go back to McGruff the Crime Dog real quick.
Okay. Yes, please.
Because I did, when I just looked over to my Google search results from earlier, I did see this article from CBS Houston. McGruff the Crime Dog actor sentenced to 16 years for pot, grenade launcher.
Okay, so Nate, I'm going to want you to take that article and put it in our articles for next time, because I think we can flesh that out.
Yeah, well, I'm worried we're going to tread too much ground with what we've already talked about this episode with McGruff the Crime Dog.
It could be, yeah. Well, okay, then we will talk about that
this,
now.
But...
Either way, send me that article.
Yeah, I want to read that, a little light reading.
It's from 2014.
Oh, so... man. How many years? 16?
16 years, buddy.
What happened to McGruff?
What
happened that made him start doing the stuff he adverted against?
I mean, I think he got too far into it, like he really was into his, when he went undercover, he got too undercover. He forgot where McGruff ended and the crime man began.
I dig it.
Also, that really just escalates very quickly.
Wow.
It's like 1,000 plants of marijuana, also a grenade launcher. Whoa.
9,000
Calm
rounds
down,
of ammunition.
McGruff.
Oh my, wow. Man, that's a fallen hero.
All right, so what should we name this bad boy? No, he's probably a very good boy.
Yeah.
Never mind.
He's a good boy. He's our we rolled the good wheel, Drew.
You're right. I mean, just looking at him, there's like no way to tell exactly what breed of dog he is, but honestly, we could just like say it's a bulldog if we think a bulldog works better for coming up with the name.
McMutt, the hero dog. No. We might get some copyright violations. I don't know, though. One.
Take a chew out of wrongdoing.
I feel like there's something there with Canine. Like, not that we should have it be Canine, but I feel like...
Well, it wasn't Canine the name of the robot dog in Doctor Who.
Yes. Okay. That's what I'm saying. We should that's like a good jumping off point, though, is kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so backing up a little bit, actually, what if there were 9 teens and they just called themselves, on a pun, just to sound very cool, they thought it was clever to say they were the K9s. Like, the K9? I don't know. Cut all this.
No, I like it.
K9 unit.
The K9 unit. Oh, man.
I mean, it's dumb, but it works.
But then we're actually just saying
and then there will be, like, mix-up when call in the K9 unit, and, like, both groups show up, and they're like, oh...
You said that we should come. We heard you over the police radio say you wanted
and the police
K9
are just like, you have a police radio?
Hey, anyone can tap into that. probably.
I don't.
No, there's apps for police scanners.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah. Well, we could.
Canine is simple. It works, but is that what we want?
Okay, so I two things came into my mind when we were talking about like the breed, and I said Basset Hound, and for some reason in my mind I came up with Ratchet Hound.
I just like the idea. The ratchet is such a good word especially for a mechanical dog.
I actually like that, like, a lot.
Okay, so maybe, I mean, in the fiction of our character, he's a Basset Hound.
Just like McGruff the Crime Dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hey, there you go. Yeah, I'll tie it all in.
Now, could we tie McGruff into this, kind of like how we tied Bill Engvall into the Omen Shaman? Like, maybe McGruff was, like, a distant relative.
Or what if... I mean, okay, Drew, I don't know how to break this to you. I guess this is as good a time as any. McGruff was not a real dog. He was a man inside of a dog suit.
What?
Okay, well, I know I just shattered your world, but we can talk about this off air. But like, what if all the kids were inspired by McGruff the Crime Dog?
Oh.
Like they all. I mean, that if you want a connection to McGruff, that's as good as a connection as I can come up with. They all wanted to crime fight, but they never had an opportunity until now, and then this dog just sort of made sense since they had a love of McGruff.
All right, so they are teenagers, like maybe just starting in college, and they all love McGruff. Who doesn't love McGruff?
Well, sorry, can you, teenagers in college?
I was thinking they were like high school 19. Teenagers.
Oh, they could be.
Yeah, I was thinking like 13 to 15, some adorable kids.
That's what I was thinking too.
13 to 15 is about the time that I was being taught about, or like McGruff was in my life. So I figured they should be a little older.
Well,
these are super genius kids, Drew.
Also, like, there's no more time than you feel closer to McGruff the Crime Dog than you like just met him.
Yeah,
that is true.
I mean, the other option is we could swing a different direction and say they loved the idea of McGruff the Crime Dog, but hated that he was so powerless. Truly, like he didn't actually solve any crimes, so they thought, well, we have this dog here who we saved from a well. What if we made ourselves a McGruff Crime Dog?
They wanted to create the one thing that inspired them all, inspired a generation. McGruff.
They wanted to create the real McGruff the Crime
McGruff
Dog.
2.0.
Oh, is there something there then? Like Gruff, something with
Gruff
something with
Gruff
the word
0.
Gruff in it?
Gruff.0.
Gruff 0.0?
I think Gruff 0. There's something there with that, I think. I think Gruff 0 works.
I'm worried because that's not actually indicating that it's like the second round of McGruff. It's just saying Gruff 0.
Mm-hmm.
Like we need like something that points out that it's a second generation.
Gruff the sequel, even gruffier.
Well, would Gruff 2.0 work?
Mecha Gruff.
Mecha Gruff, the hero dog.
Just Robo Gruff.
I like Robo Gruff, but I feel like it's too on the nose. Like to just put
very generic
Robo
too.
in there.
Mecha could be good.
Or we can throw the McGruff part out in his name.
I don't know. We've talked about McGruff so much.
I'm worried our fiction is becoming so intertwined with the idea of McGruff the Crime Dog that I don't think Drew's going to be able to edit around us talking about it.
I just meant that we didn't have to have it in his name. We're still keeping everything with the McGruff inspiration.
They could be inspired by McGruff, but not name him after McGruff.
This is hard.
I seriously think we've been vamping on this for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, the dog name is way harder than a human name for some reason.
Okay, I'm just going to rapid fire things that dogs do. Bark. Rough, paws, nose, teeth.
You're just naming parts.
Okay, you were just describing it like any human.
Oh yeah, all those humans with tails. Did we discuss McGruff? MECH.
We did not.
How did we? That one. I like McGruff.
I do too.
It doesn't like roll off the tongue quite as well, but like because you got to really emphasize the k in mech. But
McGruff.
Like, I think if these kids were inspired by McGruff, McGruff would be a pretty good name.
Yeah, that works.
McGruff the Super Crime Dog.
What about just McGruff the Super Dog?
That's it.
McGruff the Super Dog. Okay, we got it.
All right, so McGruff the Super Dog, named by these kids. Do we have a name for the kids themselves? Not individually.
What if they just, like, didn't have a word for themselves as much as it's, they call themselves the doghouse because that's where they're supporting him from?
I like that.
I like the idea that that's what their hideout is called. I think we could still come up with a name for them. Did you guys? So I like that their home base is the doghouse, which is just the basement of one of their parents' house.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. Did you guys have any? What are your opinions on like the canines or something like that? I mean, that's sort of a stretch, and it forces us to have 9 children. But
I think 9 is too much. Like, as inevitably they are going to make a movie about this, and just, you know,
inevitably.
Yeah.
I think 9.
Watch Dogs.
Oh yeah, I love Watch Dogs.
They are the watchdogs.
And their headquarters is the doghouse, and it's McGruff the super dog.
Yes. So we got this dog. So we have these kids. They want a hero, but what they've got is this mechanized mech suit dog who they can kind of control, but overall does kind of his own thing. So they're trying to force him into hero-dom.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining them in like their basement with like some sort of VR setup, and they're like doing like a Jaeger situation where they're trying to walk, but every so often the dog like overrides it, like sees cat, and like it just sees red and just starts going after it.
Or like they got like the watchdogs have to go out on the street every once in a while, and they got to like throw a stake on top of a car that the villains are getting away in, so the dog will actually chase after them. Like they got to trick him.
I definitely thought we were dealing with some like vampires, and you were just like gonna stake them.
Yeah. And then in issue 2, where the watchdogs just murder a man, like
he was a vampire. Yeah. Say that to court.
But I like the idea that these kids are like, there's this constant struggle between the dog and the kids to try and get him to do something heroic.
What does this dog look like? Is it literally just like a giant exoskeleton suit and a little doggy head up at the top?
I think it's still just like dog sized, but just with like a crazy armor suit on the outside of him. So he's still the size of a pupper.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I was picturing.
But he also has just like super strength. Like, how much can he lift a car?
Yeah.
But like
he can't really lift anything because he's a dog.
Well, he has an exosuit.
But how does he lift? Does he get underneath and just stand up?
Yeah, 2 inches off the ground.
I guess he can do that. Yeah.
It's a very strong exoskeleton.
You know, you'd think that these kids could help the world by releasing their crazy technology, but instead they're just hoarding it to themselves and using it on a super
Maybe
dog.
they're trying to, and this is their response to, like, they tried to do this, but like, you crazy kids, go back in and play Tetris.
That's a pretty good, I mean, that sounds like a thing that a person who doesn't understand what video games are today would say.
So they build this dog, and like the dog is them trying to give back to the world, and since they can't go to the chief of police, they send the dog there, and that is their front. Now, is the exoskeleton, can he fly? Does he have some like jetpack kind of thing?
I could go either way on it. I kind of like the idea that he just is just a dog +1 +1,000,000 in every way. Like he can just run faster, jump higher, lift stronger, like bite harder, all that kind of stuff, but in the end he still has all the capabilities, quote unquote, that a dog would have.
I also like the idea that like in order to get the dog like on the right track, like if it gets sidetracked, they just like shoot like a biscuit out of it and it starts chasing that. So it's kind of like
yeah. That's what I was trying to get at with the steak thing. We did this for the past 2, and I'd like to keep doing it. What would the cover of issue number 1 look like for McGruff?
I've been thinking about that, and for some reason I can't quit picturing the noir McGruff sitting at his desk, and in the doorway that's open, it's McGruff.
Move over, McGruff. There's a new crime dog in town.
That's just what I kept picturing.
I'm kind of imagining like whatever the cover is, it's like the dog. It's like the dog's got his mouth on like a mailman's leg.
Ooh.
But like at the same time, I don't know. Like I'm just imagining he's doing something very dog-like, but at the same time he's thwarting crime somehow.
So we could just basically, what if the picture was a burning building, and you see a dog with its leg raised up next to it? It's helping.
That could work. I like the idea of chewing on the like mailman's pant leg though. Like you can see the kids like from around the corner like looking at him, like one of them smacking their forehead. Yeah,
well, like in the background, like on the other side of the page, there's like a typical burglar, like, you know, white and black stripes with like a big old bag with the money symbol on it, like running away. Yeah. And one of the kids is like pointing and obviously yelling at the dog.
Okay, I like that. So it actually shows his failure in this particular case.
You know, he has his days.
I like that though. It really says a lot that like there's these kids, they're trying to get them to solve crimes, but that dog is not always happening.
It gives a really good idea of the premise right there.
I like it. Should we quick sum up what we've got here to see if there's anything we're missing?
Yeah.
All right. So McGruff, the super dog. Originally known by, I'm sure, some sort of tame name. Do we have a name for the
We'll do
dog
Sparky.
originally?
Sparky, yeah.
Sparky, sounds great. Got trapped in a well, and these kids, these super smart kids, invented a mechanical arm that would basically go in and rescue this dog. During that time period, the dog and the arm physically bonded to the point that it couldn't be removed, and the kids got an idea to lean into that concept and make a super dog. They had all been recently taught by McGruff the Crime Dog, but were frustrated with his limitations as
his unwillingness to go
superhero.
outside the law.
Exactly. And so they said, what if we built a better McGruff? And they built McGruff, the crime dog.
The super dog.
And so these kids basically send McGruff out to try and solve crimes, but the dog still has its own agency sometimes and will do dog things. And so they have to sort of have this careful balance between getting the dog to fix crime, but also fighting the dog's impulses. So we're looking at stuff like firing biscuits out of a cannon. We're looking at attaching stakes to things. We're looking at making sure that they can get the dog to run after fire hydrants and the backs of cars and stuff like that.
So it's sounding more and more like these group of kids, like maybe 4 of them have to stay in the doghouse and 2 of them have to go out in the field and like be watching the dog
and be his handlers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so the kids the kids hang out in the doghouse, which is the basement of one of their parents. And they call themselves, what did we come up with?
Watchdogs.
The Watchdogs, right. And so that's our hero, I think. Our almost hero and hero group.
Yeah.
Now, do these guys have any connection to our current pantheon of hero and villain?
We've got a signs guy, the omen shaman. I was like, is there any like signs that are like could tie into dogs? I don't know.
I have an idea.
Okay.
Hear me out. It doesn't. Now, I think we should ignore. I'm not even going to look where this whole puppy thing happened because I think we should, to a degree, ignore that in favor of like trying to, actually connect these people sometimes. What if one of the watchdogs is a little guy I like to call Simon?
Oh my God, that's a good idea.
So Simon is like multitasking in his Overwatch duties, his Overwatch dogs.
Well, see, he it seems to me that the way we couched him was an unwilling oracle for his grandmother.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to run after this dog who's knocking over a building and his grandma calls him and is like, "What's the code for the door again?" He's like, "Grandma, I told you already. It's your own house. You know this."
And it's just an inconvenience.
Like,
Simon has to like step out of the room just like, "No, input 2, Grandma. You have to input 2."
Okay, the power button is on the top. It's on the top. No, that's the shift, Grandma. That's the shift.
Where are you, Grandma?
No, Grandma. But like, I like the idea that Simon, maybe one of the reasons Simon is annoyed with his grandmother is because he's so busy with the watchdogs that he, every time she calls, he's in the middle of something.
Hey, listeners. Just a reminder, go out there and hug your grandma.
Just really give her a call.
Just call her up.
Yeah, she'll love it.
Simon obviously loves his grandma. I just want to stress that.
I mean, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, otherwise he wouldn't help her.
She calls him every birthday
Exactly.
Aww.
and sings to him.
He visits her on weekends and he helps her take in the groceries when she needs it. He does love her very much.
Now, does that mean Simon is close? Like, Simon doesn't necessarily have to be present in the same city as Bushido Sobo.
That's true. Because she contact. Well, wait. If he goes and helps her with stuff physically sometimes, then I feel like they need
like
to
the crossover issue would only be then when she's in town visiting.
Oh,
so
yeah.
We're like Mr. Magooing it when they're solving crimes and stuff.
Let me throw this one at you guys. With McGruff. What if they receive word of some sort of like shady business going down the warehouse, and the dog gets there and he sees a sign that says "No dogs allowed." Oh, who's this? It's the Omen Shaman.
Triple crossover.
Does the dog obey that? Does he have to obey that because of the sign? I don't know. We never really.
There's a lot of mythology around the Omen Shaman that we haven't fleshed out as far as like whether or not people. I mean, we did say that people were just super dumb.
That is in his town.
But
maybe like a later evolution of this guy, like the same way Tony Stark got his Extremis in the comics, is eventually he is able to create signs that people have to obey. Maybe that's something in the future. But
I like that though. I do like that we could get them all 3 in the same area. That would be cool.
This is why we started this. We wanted to create heroes and villains that would eventually cross over into their own mythology and their own origin.
Well, and then I would really like if the sign did make McGruff not able to go in, because then he would call in Bushido Sobo.
Oh my, yes. What would be a sign that would thwart her.
Old
Nothing.
people not allowed.
She's
See,
unthwartable.
I think she's so old that she's reached the point where she just doesn't care what anybody thinks or what
the
any
signs
sign
would
says.
have no effect against her at all.
She has a hard time. That's the weak. That's Sign Man's the Omen Shaman's.
She can't
read it.
Yes.
I love it. He's like, no one under age 55. And she's like, what does that say? I can't. Let me get closer. And he's like, no, you already. Stop it. I mean, I think we're at a good spot. So are we kind of summarizing post summarization? We are connecting at the very least, like within actual stories. Simon is part of the Watchdogs, but is also Bushido Sobo's grandson.
Yes, we are doing that.
Yeah, I think 3 for 3. Swish, Kobe.
Sports.
Very, very accurate to our sports world.
All right. So this has been issue number 3 of our podcast Headline Heroes, featuring our new superhero, McGruff the Super Dog. And what was fun was we were able to tie him into our other 2, hero and villain. So we also want to take this time right now to thank Brett Jacobson, who created the art for our show, and also Carl Sorensen, who created all the music for this podcast. Carl does have a website, which is carljsorensen.com. So if you wanted to check him out there, that would be great. We're going to leave a link to that in the show notes, so check it out there. If you have any articles you'd like to see us discuss, our email is headlineheroescast@gmail.com. Otherwise, feel free to follow us on Twitter at headline_heroes for the latest updates. So we thank you again for joining us this week, and we hope you'll pick up the next issue of Headline Heroes.
Take a bite out of crime.